Hi, guys. How are you guys doing today? Happy Monday. Got my coffee here ready for our coffee chat about exercise. Today, we're going to talk about joyful movement, exercise, and really, we're going to dip in a little bit about exercise compulsion, exercise, possibly addiction. So, if you have some questions about exercise or you find yourself struggling with exercise, you're in the right place today. So I'm glad you guys are hopping on. If you're hopping on, say, hey, let me know you joined us so I can see who you are, where you're from. I can chat with you guys. And then also, if you're watching the replay, make sure you hashtag replay later so that I can come back and I can see you. All right, so let's jump in. How do you know if you're struggling with exercise addiction or possibly like compulsive exercise? Well, I want to walk through, first of all, a few warning signs. If this is something that you think that you might be struggling with, first of all, is this your only tool for emotional regulation? Okay, so what I mean by this is like when you have a fight with somebody. Say I had a fight with, my husband, and all I could think about was how I was going to run off to the gym because I needed to burn off some energy. Um, so if you feel like you need to do that to cope in order to deal with feelings, if that's something you do, then maybe this is something to reflect on. Possibly is this one of the things that I notice with clients right away, just like with food, is like, are we using exercise as a tool to cope? How much of this exercise is interfering with your life? So it goes for negative thoughts, it goes the same for anxiety, and it goes the same for food, and it's the same for really exercise. Is how much of this is it really interfering with your life? So how are you using exercise to cope? If you're hopping on, say hey so I can chat with you. If you feel like you use exercise as a means to cope, just put cope below and I can come back and we can chat about that later. So, the second warning sign, you guys, I can totally relate to this. I'm going to say this first of all. Are you able to make plans? So, are you able to make plans without sitting there thinking, oh my God, I've got to get to the gym? Or I shouldn't be doing this because I've got to be at the gym. Um, Particularly if you have a demanding job or family, you've got lots of obligations. Maybe you have a sick child or you've got some family quarantining, something like that. So I know that can be really stressful to the max, but are you able to make plans? Are you able to go through your day without stressing about going to the gym? Um, And then a big question would be, how are you tying your eating in with your exercise? So think about this. Like, do you plan your meals around exercise routines? Totally guilty of this. I used to do it, and we're going to go into me and my story. I'm going to give you a lot of examples here in a little bit. But if you can relate to um, tying your meals into your exercise routines, I'm going to go back to comments because I see some now. Hey, Heather, good to see you on here. And hey, we got somebody else on here. Let me know who you are. If you're using Facebook and you give StreamYard access, I can see who you are and we can chat with each other. So, yeah, you just have to give StreamYard access so I can see your name or just tell me, hi, this is so and so. Yeah, so making plans is a big one. A big one. And then this, the third one. Where's your identity? And I'm going to give you some examples of my own life in this, but what are you identifying as? So this is a big one. If you're a runner, and I used to be a runner, I'm going to use running as an example because that's what I can relate to the most. But if you're another athlete, think about that. So for me, I was a runner, I was training for marathons, and I would be worried if I got injured, that I would lose it all. Back in, when I used to run all the time, I used to have these thoughts. So I identified as a runner. And if I had to miss races, like because of an injury, I would get hung up on that. And I'm still a runner, but I'll tell you this, I took a year off from COVID. I was having a lot of pain, a lot of hip stuff going on, and it got to be really painful for me. And being an intuitive eater now and knowing about joyful movement, I didn't enjoy it anymore. So, yeah. So, anyway, basically, I still am a runner, but I took a year off and I didn't lose anything. I'm still the same person. You know what I mean? So, I see we got some comments over here. Let me check. Here we go. Whoop. I used to feel like I had to work off everything I ate. Okay. I think, tell me who this is so we can chat, but I used to feel the same way too. The no pain, no gain, the gotta earn to burn. We're gonna get into that too, but that is totally something to think about in this situation. So um, so much of who I identified was as a dietitian was I was a runner, but I was also a healthy eater. And I think so much of my identity was wrapped up in what diet culture has taught us to do. So that's what I want to just kind of untangle with you guys today is where's your identity? And my identity is completely not in that anymore. My worth and my value, what I realized is it's what's with the Lord. But for so many years, I was struggling with this diet culture thing. So back to being an athlete. If you identify as an athlete, a runner, maybe a triathlete, a swimmer, something like that, maybe you have a huge event coming up that you're training for. Um, I do have a lot of those in this group, even fitness trainers, and they're like, well, you know, how do I be flexible with that if I'm working on being more intuitive with my eating? So you can approach this consistently and build up and still stay flexible with your eating. And so that's what I want to kind of chat about today in this coffee chat is how can you do that? How can you stay in the gray? I'm always talking about like staying in the gray and not getting into this black and white thinking that diet culture has us in. Jennifer, oh, I'm so glad you joined us. Okay, yeah, I tried to make my profile. No worries. It's StreamYard, and I like to use StreamYard. And you'll probably be excited to learn about this in your group, but it shows it's good for training and teaching and stuff like that. But Heather, let's see. Oh wait, what's your situation? Slightly different situation. I have to exercise. Mm. And, and that's true. So you're intuitive and you're tuning into like, I know I need to move my body or it gets stiff to make it feel better. So working out improves my quality of life for sure. So you're more intuitive with your movement. You're not forcing yourself to move because it's something you have to do. But then if things get too busy for me to exercise, then I have pain and I lose ground and it's so discouraging. Yeah, just from keeping pain away. I can understand that. And you guys, if you're listening, Heather is a wonderful yoga instructor. She's our yoga instructor for Yin. Every 2 weeks, we have a group that meets up and she walks us through some wonderful intuitive movement. But I do try to bring joy. Yes, yes, absolutely. And so when we talk about like me running, it didn't bring me joy anymore. So that feeling of like bringing you joy is so important. Like if you're training right now for some kind of race or event, because I know it's spring, um, you can set goals that you're working towards, such as strength, increasing your strength or stamina or winning in your age group, or you can still do those things, but live in the gray and not have black and white thinking around exercise. So the two are very different. And I totally get it, Heather. Like what you're doing is like you've realized I need to move my body in a way that makes me feel better. If I don't, I stiffen up or I don't feel as well. Um, and then there's the other end of the spectrum, which is like never giving yourself a rest day, right? And I've been at that point. I can say that the two are very different. I can tell you, like, I come from a standpoint of like I was rigid with my diet, with my thinking, and my exercise. And now, as an intuitive eater, I can tell you that it 100% helped me feel better with my running and my exercise. When I was rigid in my thinking and I was so strict, I didn't have the energy because I was micromanaging my food intake so much. So there are specific things you still need to do if you're like, for instance, if you're training for a marathon or something like that. But you need to make sure you're getting in enough carbs. If you're getting in enough energy, it always comes back to that. I feel like I'm always talking about getting in enough. So often we restrict, but I still want to encourage flexibility. So many of these plans out there are so rigid and strict. And so, if I was to talk to somebody about how to be intuitive and training for an event, it would be to still have some flexibility in their life, in their diet. So, you can do this by testing out what works for you on long runs. Maybe that's a gel, maybe it's a bar. Try both, see how it works for you. And then there are times, athletes, hear me out if you're listening, when people need to take a break from exercise. So Heather realized, you know what? I need to move my body in order to feel good, but she might not be out there burning the pavement. Maybe she's doing intuitive yin yoga, or different types of yoga to move her body. So she's found out a type of exercise that makes her feel good. For me, um, flexibility is so, so important. Self care, thinking of movement in terms of self care, and getting out of that all or nothing mindset. I used to think, I had to follow this training plan, and every day, if I didn't hit, the miles that I needed to get my time down in this marathon, I was very rigid in that. And that's when injury comes into play. Now, all those years when we were telling you my hips were hurting, so true. We need to find the middle ground. And I can tell you when I first started running, I loved running. I found something I loved to do, but then it became obsessive really fast. It like took a hard right turn. And it was something that it became something that I felt like I had to do. My little addicted personality took over and my perfectionism. And my first marathon was fun. And then it became like a chase the clock kind of thing where I had to do better and I had to do better and I had to do better every time. So I became obsessive with it. I became feeling like I had to work out, and it didn't bring me joy anymore. So I want you to question some things. Um, think about what you're doing to move your body and what brings you joy. So it wasn't bringing me joy anymore. So I had to uncover something that did. And I uncovered bar. And I did bar for several years. Bar made me feel strong and it really helped me. Then COVID hit and it all kind of changed last year for me. Um, I didn't run all year. I started doing bar, and then running became something I craved again. We recently moved to Florida, and the weather's really great out here. So my body started craving some runs now again. and we've been doing very short, light, fun runs. I've added it back in with some weight training that makes me feel really strong. So, I guess my big question to you guys, if you're with me or if you're watching the replay later, let me know. Do you feel like exercise is something that's working for you right now? And if you don't, I want you to just say no in the comments below so we can chat about that. How do you feel about exercise? Is it something that is working for you now? If it is, type yes and let me know that too. I'd love to hear about your experience and where you're at with exercise. Um, are you happy with the type of movement that you're doing? I was having a discussion with somebody in the DMs last week, and or maybe it was like last month. So it was a while ago. It was about a month ago, and she said to me, I love doing my cycling class. I just love it. She goes, but I can't get myself to do weights. And I was like, okay, um, why are you doing weights? She said, because I know that I should. I feel like I have to. And I was exploring this thought of like why she felt like she should, because the whole point with exercise, I have so many people tell me, I'm not consistent. I'm not consistent, this word. We can't be consistent with something we don't enjoy. And you need to start with what you love. And it might change. It might change. Like, I didn't run for a year and now I'm starting to want to run again. So here we got Jennifer. Let's see, we got another comment. Yes, yes. Okay, so, and I know Jennifer and I have had a conversation about intuitive eating. Um, she's an intuitive eater as well. And it's really interesting how exercise plays a role in your life when you're an intuitive eater versus prior to being an intuitive eater. We tend to take that black and white thinking into other areas of our life. So we're trying to live in the gray in this in this group and always get back to being flexible with things. So ask yourself a question, just reflect today. Am I happy with the way I'm moving my body? Um, I think it's easy to get locked into something. I was a runner, and I started running in college, and I did my first race, and then it led into this years of running, and I met so many wonderful people running, but it was like I didn't know what else to do. And it became obsessive for me. So there's a tendency to do things just because it's what you do, and you don't even stop to think, do I even really like this anymore? Like, this is what I want to do. So question if it's working for you. Does it feel good? Is it the right amount? That's something to ask yourself. Just allow yourself to get curious. We do that a lot in this group. Get curious, ask ourselves questions, dig deeper. Um, Last tip. I hear this a lot of time. Exercise is my therapy. I go out and run, and by the way, it makes you feel good. There's a lot of dopamine, a lot of endorphins that get flowing when you're running or when you're exercising. It makes you feel so good, but it's not therapy. So many people say this. Therapy has its place too, and believe me, I am so pro therapy as well. I'm so pro counseling. I'm pro getting help, professional help. Mental health is a super, super important component to our overall health. We're always talking about that in this group too: mental, emotional, spiritual, physical. It's not just about the physical, there's so many aspects to health. So, listen to your body and have fun for the most part. So, let's talk about this for a second. Let's talk about fun, joyful movement today. We talked about, compulsive exercise, questioning, some trigger warnings. Um, and then what movements have you tried that you've really, really enjoyed? Have you tried any dance classes? That's something I see a lot of people doing, and I would love to try it. I don't really know if there's any YouTube people out there that you guys follow, and you could tell me below who has a good dance classes. I would love to try some of those. That's something I would just really love to get into. Strength training is something I love, and I have enjoyed doing. I've been doing Madeline moves lately. She's really great. Um, go for a run, or don't go for a run. Like, go for a walk, or go for a walk run, whatever makes you feel good. It's all about joyful movement and intuitive eating. So, what movements have you guys tried that you're really enjoying and really loving right now? I would love to hear what you guys are doing. For me, I'm doing running. So I'm running short runs with my husband, just out and about around town exploring. And we are also doing well, I'm doing some strength training. We got a gym now, so I do Madeline Moves app and do some strength training, which has really made me feel a lot stronger. Those hip pains are gone now, and I love intuitive eating, intuitive yin yoga with Heather. So that's every other week. But yeah, I would love to know in the comments below what exercise brings you joy, because that's what's going to keep you consistent first and foremost. And it might not be the same thing in a couple of months as it is right now. It's going to change. So, lastly, one more thing before we get off today. There. Before we get off today, I want to make an announcement. The gift of freedom. If this has resonated with you at all, just know that this is the kind of thing that we will dive deeper into in the gift of freedom. Not only that, but how to find your zen in the kitchen, how to understand, tune into your body signals, hunger, fullness cues, what all this means, how to be intuitive, how to add more self-care back into your life, because that's really the root of all of this. So our luxurious, and I say luxurious because we've got a lovely gift box to send you when you sign up. Don't open it till the retreat. It's got some lovely things that we will use when we go through the retreat together with Dr. Sarah Smith and I. It is May 22nd and 23rd, the gift of freedom. And one thing that I've learned from all of this is that we grow through connection and through support. We can try to do this on our own. It'll just take longer. So I would love to spark, if this is something you've been on the fence about, don't really want to dip your toes into, then join us to kick off your intuitive eating journey. May 22nd and 23rd. It's the gift of freedom. If you want more information, then please put gift in comments and I will let you know. Early bird registration ends this Friday. So our pricing goes up. So if you're interested in this retreat, definitely put gift in the comments so that I can circle back with you. All right, guys, have a great day. Bye.